My name is Dr. Gabriel and until a few days ago, I didn't believe in anything beyond what could be explained by science. I spent 20 years studying the human body, researching diseases, teaching that everything that exists can be proven in a laboratory. I was the kind of doctor who said that faith was emotional comfort, not reality. But something happened, something that completely changed the way I see life, death, and what comes after. During a routine experiment at the hospital, I suffered an accident that nearly killed me. I was clinically dead for several minutes, and what I saw during that time challenges everything I've learned in a lifetime of medicine. What I experienced was not a hallucination, nor a dream, nor a delusion. It was real. I have seen things that are about to happen in our world, events that will transform all of humanity. And I, the most skeptical man of all, was forced to admit there is something beyond what the eyes see. The reason I am here today is not to gain attention or recognition. It is out of obedience. What I have been shown cannot be kept to myself. Humanity is about to go through the most difficult period in its recent history, and each person will need to choose between truth and illusion. What's coming is not fiction, it's a warning. I was the last person anyone would imagine giving a testimony like this. But it was precisely because I was skeptical that God chose me, so that no one would say he believed because he always believed. No, I only believed in logic, and it was logic itself that crumbled before what I saw. Today, I know that science and faith are not enemies. They are parts of the same creator trying to wake us up before it's too late. What I am about to relate may shake your mind, but it is what I witnessed between life and death, visions that confirm ancient prophecies and show what is about to happen between now and the coming years. Prepare yourself, not with fear, but with understanding. Time hasn't run out, but the clock is ticking faster. And if you're listening to this story, perhaps there's still hope for me, for you, and for everyone who chooses to awaken before the last grain of sand falls from the hourglass. My name is Dr. Gabriel, and I'm writing this with my hand still trembling. I am a medical researcher, trained to believe in what I can measure and replicate. I spent years looking at test tubes, graphs, microscopes, cold numbers. I always thought faith was someone else's business, never something to do in my lab. Last week, a simple mistake changed everything I believed. I was testing an experimental compound after work. The room was silent. The hum of the machines was the only company. I noted the dosage, reviewed the formula, checked the protocol, all automatically. The smell changed slightly, and a dizziness blurred my vision to one side. I felt my legs give way, as if someone had pulled the ground from under them. I remember my colleague's face, shouting my name from far, far away. The ceiling lights turned into blurry lines running across me. I tried to speak, but my throat closed up like a heavy door. The touch of the floor on my face was the last thing I felt. The rest, I would never have believed if I hadn't lived it. I need something before we continue, because this is serious, and I don't want to be talking to myself. Write in the comments where you are watching from and who I should pray for. If you can, tell me your city and country. I will write down names and present them to God today. Share this video with someone you love. Don't wait to say, I'll watch it later. If you are in the US, Europe, Brazil, Africa, or Asia, say present below. Let's transform the comment section into a place for intercession, not debate. I promise to read as much as possible and respond with a short prayer for each one. You don't have to believe me. I only ask that you don't ignore this warning. If something inside you tells you to pay attention, follow that voice now. Because the next part isn't theory, it's what I saw when I deleted it. And if it's for your own good, I'd rather risk my name than your future. Take a deep breath. Stay with me until the end. There are instructions that could save lives, and in the end, you decide whether it makes sense or not. But listen to everything first. I gain nothing from this, besides peace of mind for having done my part. Let's go together, step by step, from the laboratory to what came after. When my eyes closed on the laboratory floor, they opened somewhere else. It wasn't a room, it wasn't a hallway, and it didn't have a ceiling I could touch. It seemed like a soft, non-hurting light, like dawn, rising from within. I looked at my hands. They were there, but with a strange, slight transparency. I felt no pain, no weight, only a silence that seemed alive. I tried calling my colleague, but her mouth didn't respond. Even without speaking, I knew someone was listening to me. I can't explain it. Suddenly, I felt footsteps that weren't hitting the ground, but my chest. They didn't make a sound, but they affected me deeply. A figure approached, tall, steady, enveloped in a clean light. The light was bright, but not painful. It was welcoming, not blinding. His face was serene, ancient, and I was certain I knew him. It wasn't a memory in my head. It was a recognition from my soul. He said my name, and the voices came from all sides at once. I didn't need to ask who it was. I already knew. He told me I was there for a specific reason. He said there were things I needed to see and talk about later. I tried to argue that I wasn't the right person for the job, but my throat still wouldn't make a sound, and the light calmed me. He reached out his hand. He didn't touch it, but something pulled the space around him. The light dissipated like smoke, turning into a deep sky. I saw tiny dots like stars and felt that we were moving without wind. Everything was fast-paced, without any rush, as if time were different there. Suddenly, the earth was below us, beautiful and blue. I could see continents, clouds, lines of light cutting through cities. The figure said I would see warnings, not inevitable sentences. That many things could still be improved if people changed. What I was about to see was meant to awaken me, not to cause despair. He asked if I understood. I simply nodded, and he started showing me. My first impression was of a map, as if I were looking at the weather forecast. But they weren't clouds. They were fault lines, tension, deep movement. I saw the West Coast trembling like a taut rope snapping. Buildings that I recognized from TV were bending like toys. Roads were cracking, bridges were collapsing, screams rose from everywhere. The figure became serious, not with anger, but with sadness. He spoke of a strong tremor. He spoke of losses. He spoke of preparedness. He said it wasn't a blind punishment, but a warning to remind people of the fundamentals. Everything passed like a breath, and then came the plane, winds forming monsters. I saw columns spinning, many at once, swallowing up horizons. Families in basements holding hands, short and heartfelt prayers. I heard, "We have nowhere to go, and stay with me," as human echoes. He called them winds of judgment, not of condemnation. He spoke of arrogance that forgets about what is above and trusts only in one's own strength. And he said, "Write this down. This is for acting now, not for crying about later." I interrupted, my heart in my mouth, and asked for something simple. If you live in a high-risk area, write down your family's names now. Write down on a piece of paper, meeting point, emergency phone number, external contact. Bring water, simple food, and basic medicine for a few days. You don't need a bunker. You need clarity and a workable plan. And above all, talk. Align with your people while there's still calm. This is not fear, it's care. Fear paralyzes, care protects. I didn't have any of that ready on the day of my breakdown. If I had left, my family would have been without guidance. Don't make my mistake. Organize the basics today while you still have time. Write down water, food, medicine, documents, contact information, meeting point. Then we moved on to what really devastated me inside, because what came next wasn't just nature, it was society breaking down. And when society breaks down, those who have a plan help those who don't. This is how God sustains people through other people. The image of the earth spinning before me dissolved and transformed into an illuminated map. It was like watching a news report, but what I saw wasn't a prediction, it was a warning. The figure beside me pointed to the center of the continent, and the ground began to spin in gigantic whirlwinds. Colossal tornadoes swallowed everything they touched. Entire houses flew, trucks were torn apart, and the cries of praying people came from all directions. Six. Angel said, "These winds are not merely of nature, they are winds of judgment. Human pride always reaps what it sows." I felt a deep pain in my chest, not physical, but spiritual. It was as if their suffering was passing through me. The angel turned its face, and I could see sadness, not anger. The next sight came like a thunderclap. A hurricane was forming over the Atlantic Ocean, and it was monstrous. The eye of the storm was the size of an entire state. The angel said, "This will happen between 2026 and 2027, a sign for man to understand that his strength is small before the Creator." I saw coastal cities being swallowed by the water. I saw New York, Miami, and even places I never imagined completely flooded. I saw people on rooftops holding children, pleading with the heavens for help. It was then that I understood that the greatest pain would not only come from the wind, but from the lack of love and preparation. The angel then pointed to a new place, the heart of the cities. I saw chaos, protests, fires, torn flags. I saw people turning against each other because of politics, ideology, fear. The streets were a stage for despair, and the sound of sirens seemed like a collective cry. The angel said, "When love grows cold, man becomes his brother's enemy." He showed empty supermarkets, closing banks, and families fighting over food. The collapse doesn't start in the buildings, it starts in the heart. That phrase stuck in my mind like a branding iron. Suddenly, I saw something that didn't seem to be from Earth. An intense light cut across the sky, and I felt the heat pass through my body even though I was in spirit. It was a solar flare. The angel explained, "An event in the firmament will affect the Earth. Satellites will fall, communication networks will be disrupted, and for weeks humanity will hear nothing but silence." The image changed, and I saw cities without power, people walking by candlelight, and others kneeling, seeking solace. The angel looked at me and said, "This will be the forced pause that will make many remember God." Then something unexpected happened. The light dimmed, and I saw churches, not the grand cathedrals, but small houses full of people. Young people, old people, entire families, all praying together. They cried, sang, and asked for forgiveness. The angel smiled for the first time and said, "From pain will come awakening. When all seems lost, faith will blossom." I felt that this was the true purpose behind the visions. The judgment was not the end. It was the bitter medicine to cure humanity of its own disease. Before the vision ended, I heard something inside me, like an urgent plea. "Tell them to turn around now. There is still time, but it is running out." And that's why I'm asking, wherever you're watching, write, "Awake." Show that you understand what God is trying to say to the world. Share this video with someone you love and pray with me in the comments. Don't wait to see chaos. To believe, faith isn't useful after destruction. It saves beforehand. And if you're reading this now, it's no coincidence. It's an invitation. Because what the angel showed me next wasn't just about the world, it was about the destiny of every soul. The light around us shifted again, and the map of the earth expanded beneath our feet. I saw borders, seas, deserts, and cities. The angel took me over a place I recognized immediately: Asia. I saw mountains trembling, cities crumbling, rivers overflowing, as if they had a life of their own. The angel said that the earth would respond to the weight of human pride. He showed me the heart of China cracking under the impact of a great earthquake, and then the water flooding the east like an endless deluge. Millions fled, not knowing where to go. Dams broke, bridges collapsed, and the silence of those who had lost everything was louder than the sound of destruction. The angel explained to me that even the powers that seemed invincible would experience weakness, for they had forgotten that there is no safety outside of God. When the waters calmed, I saw another scene: crowds protesting, tired faces, cries of revolt, flags torn by the wind. I saw economies collapsing, currencies worthless, markets closed. It was as if the entire system was being dismantled by an invisible force. The angel told me that this would be the harvest of greed, of the love of money, of indifference to the suffering of others. What man has worshipped will be what will bring him down, he said. And when everything he trusts in collapses, many will look up for the first time. And then I realized the collapse would not only be financial, but moral. My gaze shifted to Europe. I saw historic cities covered in water and ash. I saw volcanoes awakening, mountains spewing fire, and the sky tinged red. The angel explained that these nations would experience the reflection of their choices, the estrangement from their spiritual roots, the pride of reason without faith. I saw ancient churches abandoned, while temples of pleasure were full. And in the midst of this, small groups prayed in the squares, kneeling in the rain. There the revival begins, said the angel. While some mock, others weep, and it is through these few that mercy will be maintained. We continued on to the Middle East. There, peace seemed a distant dream. I saw missiles crisscrossing the sky, explosions tearing through the night, entire countries in flames. I saw the despair of families fleeing with children in their arms. The angel spoke in a firm voice. The wars that man provokes, man reaps. This region will be the heart of the fire, and from it will come the final lesson. No one wins when hatred governs. But then, as if the scene shifted from the inside out, I saw people kneeling amidst the ruins. They were of different religions, but they wept for the same reason: repentance. That was the moment I understood something profound. Even in the midst of destruction, God still seeks hearts. I saw men who had never spoken the name of Jesus calling upon him. I saw women with torn veils looking up to heaven and saying, "Show us the true way." I saw soldiers falling to their knees, not from defeat, but from spiritual surrender. The angel said, "Even in the deepest darkness, the light does not go out. It only waits to be remembered." Those words struck me more than any vision. What I saw was not just judgment, it was humanity's final chance to awaken. Finally, I saw Africa, a land of pain, but also of living faith. I saw extreme droughts, cracked fields, starving children. But I also saw something that no catastrophe could destroy: hope. Churches growing amidst the dust, praises echoing without instruments, only voices and clapping. The angel smiled and said, "Here the fire of the Spirit has not been extinguished. From this poor land will arise missionaries who will rekindle what the world has forgotten." And I wept, because I realized that where the world saw weakness, God saw strength. Where the world saw despair, he saw rebirth. The angel looked at me with an expression that mixed compassion and gravity. He said there was still something I needed to see, something that would be difficult for me to understand. When I raised my eyes, I saw the world map again. This time, the United States shone in reddish hues, as if the ground breathed fire. I saw the center of the country covered in smoke, the people confused, streets filled with protests and fires. I saw people looting, families trying to escape, leaders shouting promises they couldn't keep. The angel said, "The division of this nation will become an open wound. The pride that once united them will now tear them apart from within." It was as if I were watching the fall of a giant who forgot the foundation. The image moved towards the heavens. Space was filled with an intense light, but it wasn't the sun. It was something bigger, like an explosion in the firmament itself. The brightness cut across the planet in absolute silence. The angel explained to me, "A solar event will hit the Earth. It will bring darkness, not from an absence of light, but from an absence of connection." I saw satellites burning, power grids being destroyed, and entire cities plunging into chaos. Global communication was disappearing, and with it, control. I saw people not knowing what to do, unable to ask for help, and I realized something terrifying. The silence was more deadly than the disaster itself. But in the midst of this global blackout, I saw something different. I saw houses lit by candles, families praying together, children reading passages from the Bible by the light of flashlights. The angel said, "Even in the absence of electricity, there will be light, the light of hearts that return to seek the Creator." That touched me more deeply than any vision before. I understood that the collapse wasn't just material, it was an invitation. Humanity, distracted by its own technology, would be forced to listen again to the sound of silence and recognize who truly sustained the world. The next vision was of South America. I saw Brazil in contrast. To the north, forests ablaze. To the south, flooded cities. I saw rivers drying up and seas advancing over houses. I saw the people suffering, but also praying. The angel said, "This land will be tested, but from it will come a voice of repentance. Many who mocked will weep, and from bowed knees will arise a cry that will reach heaven." I saw crowds gathered in squares, singing without instruments, relying only on the strength of their faith. I understood that Brazil, even amidst tears, would be one of the nations that would keep the flame burning when the world grew cold. Then the angel showed me Central America and the Caribbean. I saw hurricanes never before recorded, giant waves, and entire cities submerged. The destruction was devastating, but among the ruins, I saw people rescuing each other, sharing what little remained. I saw churches transformed into shelters, and I heard the angel say, "Mercy flourishes when man understands that nothing belongs to him." That phrase sounded like a divine seal. Where selfishness died, compassion was born. And in that scene of pain, I saw God raising up what the world would call improbable. Simple people, without titles, without power, but with genuine love. Finally, the angel looked at me and said, "Now you understand the purpose of pain. It awakens those who sleep." I looked down and saw the entire planet covered in a mixture of fire and golden flames. Some burned in destruction, others in rebirth. The difference, he said, is the heart of man. The same fire that consumes also purifies. The same wind that knocks down also scatters seeds. It was at that moment that I understood. Nothing I saw was the end. It was the beginning of a separation between what is fleeting and what is eternal, between what collapses and what remains. The angel was silent for a moment. I was too. The air seemed dense, filled with a weight that wasn't physical, but spiritual. He looked at me and said that what I would see now would no longer be made of cities or people, but of symbols, images that would speak to the heart and not just to the eyes. As soon as he extended his hand, the surrounding view changed completely. The world disappeared, and before us arose a gigantic, ancient tree with roots that stretched as far as the eye could see. Its leaves seemed alive, but many were falling. The trunk cracked, and sap flowed like blood. The angel said, "This is the tree of human civilization. It grew tall, but its roots became poisoned. I observed the roots and saw faces in them, multitudes trapped in the soil seeking sustenance in dark waters. The angel explained to me that this poison represented human choices, pride, greed, hatred, and indifference. Man was made to drink from the Creator's fountain, he said, but he chose to drink from the mud he himself created. Those words pierced my soul. The tree was still alive, but weakened, and the angel added, "It will not die completely, but the branches that reject the light will be cut off. What is pure will remain, the rest will fall." It was the first time I realized that God was not just judging, he was pruning, cleaning, restoring what could still flourish. Then the scenery dissolved, and before me appeared a vast wheat field. The wind blew, and the golden hues of the ears of wheat created waves that resembled a living sea. Amidst the wheat, weeds grew tall and intertwined. Men emerged into the field with scythes, and I began to notice their carefulness in every movement. The angel said, "This is the time of separation. The wheat and the tares grow together until the right time. Now is that time." They cut with precision, without haste, avoiding harming what was good. "It's not punishment," he explained. "It's discernment. It's the revelation of what is true." I understood that God's judgment was not blind destruction. It was purification, a harvest where each heart would be revealed by the fruit it produced. Suddenly, the field disappeared, and a large object appeared before us, an hourglass floating in the void. Time inside it was different. The golden sand fell slowly, and very little remained at the top. I didn't know whether to look at minutes or years, but my heart raced. The angel pointed to the hourglass and said, "This is humanity's time. The cycle you know is about to change. The end of one era is not the end of everything, it is the beginning of another. The Creator gives signs before the transition, but few listen." I stared and saw that some grains of sand shone brighter than others. "Those are the righteous," he said, "those who still hold onto the faith even when the world darkens." The hourglass image began to slowly rotate, and I realized that when it reversed, everything started again, but with less brilliance. It was as if each cycle of humanity lost something essential. The angel explained, "With each generation, more wisdom is exchanged for vanity, more truth is replaced by opinion. And when the sand runs out, the Creator will judge not only actions, but intentions." I felt the weight of those words as if time were watching me back. I saw that time was not the enemy, it was a witness. It recorded everything, and not a single second was forgotten. The view ended with one last image: the sun rising behind a mountain. Its light was about to cross the summit, but shadows still lingered over the valley. The angel told me, "Hope still exists, but it requires effort. Whoever climbs the mountain now will see the complete sunrise. Whoever remains in the valley will be surprised by the light that will come suddenly." I understood then that humanity still had a choice, but not much time. He looked me in the eyes and said, "You must tell what you saw, and you must begin now." And it was at that instant that everything went white again, the last glimmer before I opened my eyes in the hospital. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was a cold light, different from the one on the other side. The machines made a constant hum, and the air smelled of alcohol and metal. For a moment, I thought I was still in another dimension, but then I heard voices, agitated, human voices, doctors around me, nurses, my colleague Sarah crying and holding my hand. I was back in the hospital. I felt the weight of my body again, as if every cell had remembered that it was mortal. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry and constricted by a tube. One of the doctors shouted, "He's back!" And at that moment I realized that I had truly died. The following hours were a blur. Monitors beeped, people came and went, and all I wanted was silence. Sarah held my hand tightly and kept repeating that I had been unconscious for 18 hours. She told me that, for a period of time, the heart monitor had completely stopped working, that they tried to resuscitate me 3 times, that they were about to declare me dead. But something inexplicable happened. My heart started beating again on its own, strongly, as if it had been restarted. I listened quietly, with tears in my eyes. I, a man who believed only in science, had just experienced something that science cannot explain. In the following days, I slowly regained my speech and movement. But inside, nothing was the same anymore. Every sound seemed clearer, every gaze deeper. Time seemed different, as if it were running late. When I looked at people, I felt I could perceive what they carried: fear, pain, faith, emptiness. It was as if God had left a spiritual lens on me. I began writing down everything I remembered from the vision, every detail, every word spoken by the angel, for fear of forgetting. And the more I wrote, the more I understood that this was not a dream, it was a calling. I started sharing the story with some colleagues. Some laughed, others remained silent. One of them, a staunch atheist, told me I was experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. I just smiled. How could I explain something that defied logic without offending their reasoning? But I couldn't stay silent either. The angel's voice echoed within me. "You must tell what you saw." So I decided to write this message to the world, not as a prophet, but as a doctor who has seen the other side of existence and returned with the responsibility to warn. The following days were filled with internal struggle. I alternated between tears and astonishment. I felt too small to carry something so great. I spent hours staring into nothingness, trying to understand why I, of all men, had been chosen, and then I understood the answer. Because I was the most skeptical of them all.
The angel told me that God chooses the unlikely so that no one can doubt him. It wasn't about merit, it was
about purpose. And the purpose was simple: to awaken those who still sleep. I, who previously said that the soul died with the body, now knew that it is eternal. One night, already in the hospital room, I asked Sarah to turn off the lights. I closed my eyes and silently asked, "Why me?" The room fell silent, and I felt that gentle presence again. I didn't see the angel, but I felt the same peace and heard the same words in my heart. "Because you still listen." I cried, for the first time, not from fear or guilt, but from gratitude. I understood that I hadn't returned to restart a career, but to fulfill a mission. The world needed to be warned, and I needed to obey. From that moment on, everything became clear. My testimony was not a choice. It was a divine command. When I returned home, still weak, I sat down at the table where I had previously analyzed exams and charts. Now, before me, there was only a blank notebook. My hands trembled, but I began to write without thinking. The words seemed to come from another place, flowing with a calmness I had never known. Each sentence was a vivid reminder of what the angel had told me before I returned. "Don't just tell what you saw," he would say. "Tell what needs to be done." So I started writing down the instructions, one by one, and I understood that this was the true purpose of my return. The first message was simple: don't panic. The angel had explained to me that fear would be humanity's first enemy. Panic robs us of reason, generates rash decisions, and destroys solidarity. I wrote, "Fear paralyzes, but faith guides." He also said that, in the face of chaos, the greatest strength would not be technology, but inner balance. The peace that comes from trusting in something greater than oneself would be the key to enduring the dark days. I understood that fear was not to be denied, but transformed into wisdom, because fear that surrenders to faith becomes courage. The second instruction was about practical preparation. The angel was very clear: have the essentials ready before the storm begins. This didn't mean rushing in desperation, but acting prudently. I wrote, "Have enough water, simple food, medicine, and backup electricity for a few weeks. Prepare enough to take care of your family, and if possible, help someone else." He said that selfishness would be the poison that amplified the pain, and that those who thought only of themselves would lose the meaning of life. "Those who share the little they have," said the angel, "will be like lamps lit in the middle of the night." The third instruction dealt with the human heart. "Tidy up your inner house," he told me. "Mend relationships, ask for forgiveness, free yourselves from hatred." I wrote, "The judgment that is to come will not only be upon the world, but upon every soul." I understood that the greatest preparation lay not in the hands, but in the heart. It was necessary to let go of the past and reconcile with those with whom there is still time. The angel declared that sincere repentance would be the invisible refuge of the righteous, the wall that evil could not penetrate. As I wrote, I felt a slight pain in my chest, as if each word were healing a wound I didn't even know existed. The fourth message was about community. The angel showed me scenes of people isolated, trapped in their homes, unable to ask for help. And then other images, neighbors coming together, sharing food, caring for one another. He said, "The strength of a people lies not in the size of their weapons, but in the unity of their hearts." I wrote it down. Get to know your neighbors, build bridges, not walls. Collective survival begins when one extends a hand to another. The angel also warned me, there will be those who will use chaos to oppress. Do not fight with the same weapons. Fight with love and wisdom. The fifth and final instruction was the most profound. Prepare yourselves spiritually. The angel was firm in saying that many would survive the physical disasters, but not the spiritual void. I wrote, read the scriptures, pray, learn to hear God's voice before the noise of the world drowns you out. He told me that when human structures crumbled, only those who knew the truth would remain standing. When the world darkens, He stated, "Those who have inner light will be the path for others." I finished writing and realized I was crying, not from fear, but from certainty. I knew that what was coming could no longer be avoided, but it could be faced and transformed if the people awoke. I spent days rereading those instructions. Each sentence seemed to pulse, alive, as if time itself breathed between the lines. The world outside continued as before, but inside me, everything had already changed. It was as if I lived between two worlds, the one that is and the one that is to come. One evening, as the sun disappeared on the horizon, something extraordinary happened. I felt a strong presence in the room and understood that the angel was near again. I didn't see him as before, but the atmosphere was filled with the same peace, and I heard his voice in my heart. Now, observe what comes after the pain. The window seemed to open onto another dimension, and what I saw was as real as any memory from my childhood. The first scene was surprising. I saw destroyed cities being rebuilt. People weren't waiting for governments or leaders. They themselves began to raise walls, clean streets, and replant. I saw young people who had previously mocked faith praying in public, asking for forgiveness and comfort. The angel said, "From ruin, a new compassion will be born. Catastrophes will awaken the human spirit, and many will remember the Creator not out of fear, but out of love." I saw doctors treating patients without charging, farmers sharing harvests, and entire families welcoming strangers into their homes. Chaos had taken away what was not essential, and what remained was the essence: solidarity. The next vision showed churches full, but not as I knew them. They were simple places, without luxury, without audiences, without shows. People sang without instruments, with tears in their eyes. The angel explained, "The true church will be reborn where there is repentance and truth." I saw men and women publicly confessing their sins, asking for forgiveness, embracing each other like brothers and sisters. The Spirit hovered over them like a gentle breeze, and where there had once been division, now there was unity. The angel said that this would be the beginning of a worldwide revival, a call back to the origins, where faith would not be a spectacle, but life. At another time, I saw children teaching their elders how to pray. I saw schools transformed into aid centers and former politicians kneeling before the people, begging for forgiveness. Humanity was beginning to realize that true strength lay not in those who command, but in those who serve. The angel smiled and said, "The Creator never wanted to destroy the world. He wanted to heal it, and healing comes when man learns to love again." I saw countries that were once enemies exchanging humanitarian aid, soldiers carrying food instead of weapons, and tears being shed out of compassion, not hatred. The angel showed me something even deeper. I saw people who previously lived in the shadows finding peace. I've seen addicts being freed, marriages restored, and families reunited. He said, "Pain will break pride, and broken pride will make room for grace." I understood that tribulations were like the fire that purifies gold. Everything that was not true would be burned away, and what remained would be pure. I saw multitudes raising their hands, giving thanks not for riches, but for being alive, for having rediscovered the meaning of existence. Finally, the angel showed me something that made me smile. I saw the planet from afar, and above it, a soft light began to emerge. It was no longer the fire of judgment, but the glow of a new beginning. This light grew from within people, not from without. Each heart that awakened made the world a little brighter. The angel said, "This is the true miracle. Evil will not be defeated with swords, but with transformed hearts." And then he added, "Tell them there's still time, but not much. That darkness doesn't win when someone decides to light a flame." The angel stood before me, and what I felt at that moment was neither fear nor astonishment. It was reverence. The light that surrounded him now seemed different, more intense, as if it carried urgency. He looked at me in silence, and only the distant sound of the spiritual wind filled the space. Then, finally, he spoke. "Gabriel, the warning period is ending. Now the time for decision begins." Those words pierced my chest like an arrow. I felt the weight of what they meant. He explained that the messages had been sent all over the world, but few had truly heard them. Modern man had become accustomed to the comfort of noise, unable to perceive the voice that whispers in the soul. The angel raised his hand, and before us appeared something like an immense clock made of light and shadow. The hands moved quickly, each revolution representing years, centuries, eras, but now the clock seemed tired, as if time was slowing down. He said, "The Creator is patient, but the cycle must be fulfilled. Each generation has its chance to return to the path. This is the last before the definitive change." I saw the hands slowly stopping, and when they halted, a line of light cut across the horizon. The angel explained, "After this line, nothing will be the same. It's not the end of the world, it's the end of indifference." I remained silent, trying to absorb what I saw. The angel then showed me a multitude, thousands, perhaps millions of people of all races and ages. Some prayed, others mocked, others simply lived without noticing what was happening. Each of them, said the angel, will have the chance to choose, not between religion and religion, but between truth and falsehood, between light and darkness, between love and selfishness. It was then that I understood the true meaning of free will. God does not impose good, He proposes it, and each soul decides its own destiny with or without catastrophe. The next scene was the most painful. I saw people with their eyes open, but unable to see. They walked among ruins, continuing as if nothing had happened. "These," said the angel, "are those who heard, but chose silence. Their hearts have hardened more than stone." I asked if there was still hope for them. The angel replied, "There always is, until the last breath, but many prefer the darkness because they fear what the light reveals." I felt like crying, not just for them, but for all of us. For every time God tried to reach us and we were deaf. Then the angel showed me something I will never forget. I saw the planet from afar again, but now there was a difference. In various places on Earth, small lights began to light up, some isolated, others in groups. These lights, he explained, are awakened souls. They are few, but they are sincere, and it is because of them that the Creator still sustains the world. I understood that even if everything collapsed, a handful of faithful hearts would be enough to keep hope alive. The angel said, "Each one who chooses good lights a flame that pushes the night a little further away." Finally, he approached, and his voice became softer, but also firmer. "Gabriel, tell the world that the time for contemplation is over. The time for action has begun. The Creator doesn't want spectators. He wants participants." He looked me in the eyes and said, "To every person who hears this message, say, 'Wake up, there is still time. The clock hasn't stopped, but it's almost there.'" Before disappearing, he placed his hand on my shoulder and concluded, "Fear not. He who walks in truth, even among rubble, will never be alone." And with that last sentence, everything began to dissolve. The light faded into pure white, and once again I stood before the hospital, ready to fulfill my promise, to tell the world what I had seen. When I fully regained consciousness, I was no longer the same man. The rational doctor, the skeptical researcher, the man who believed only in what he could prove, he remained on the laboratory floor. What emerged was someone who had seen the other side of life, and with it, the heart of the Creator. I spent weeks reflecting before speaking publicly. I was afraid of seeming fanatical, afraid of losing respect, but I realized that the greatest mistake would be silence. Because when the sky shows you something so real, the price of remaining silent is the guilt of letting others die without warning. So, even without courage, I started recording, writing, and testifying. And what surprised me most was seeing people crying, repenting, and turning to God as they listened. Today I understand that I didn't come back to be the same. I came back to serve. And that's what I try to do. The angel told me that the time of indifference is ending, and that everyone must choose, either awaken now or be awakened by pain. That phrase has stayed with me. Therefore, I say to you, wherever you are reading this, stop, breathe, and look around. The world is changing before our eyes, and most people don't even realize it yet. There are signs everywhere, on land, in the sea, in the sky, and in our hearts. Tragedies are not just news, they are reminders. Every tear, every loss is a divine invitation to return to our essence. I, who have been so close to death, have learned that the real danger is not dying, it's living without purpose. Death is merely a passage. Forgetting God is the true abyss. Therefore, I have decided that as long as I have breath, I will use my voice to warn, comfort, and awaken. I don't expect everyone to believe. The angel already warned me that many would scoff, and that's okay, because this message isn't meant to convince, it's meant to reach. Those who have ears will know. Those who feel the weight of these words in their hearts will understand that they are not just from a doctor, they are a reminder from heaven. I look back and see the man I used to be, cold, calculating, self-sufficient. I look at myself today and realize that I have finally learned what humility is. God doesn't seek the wise, he seeks the willing. He doesn't demand perfection, he demands surrender. And now I understand that faith is not believing without proof. It is continuing to believe, even when the proof seems to disappear. The angel showed me disasters, yes, but he also showed me hope. And if there's one thing I want to leave on record, it's this: humanity still has time. Not much, but enough to change course. Therefore, if you've made it this far, I ask only one thing. Don't be afraid. Be prepared. Don't despair, awaken. Love more, judge less. Pray, hug, ask for forgiveness. Take care of your loved ones. Help those who cannot repay you. Because the end that is coming is not destruction, it is transformation. And only those who are standing strong spiritually will see the new beginning. The hourglass I saw hasn't emptied completely yet, and perhaps that's why God allowed me to return. To tell you that, yes, there's still time, but not much. In closing this testimony, I want you to know I speak not for fame, nor out of fear, but out of obedience. Everything I saw, I wrote truthfully. What I did was merely fulfill an order. The angel told me before leaving, when the sun surpasses the mountain, those who are ready will see the glory. Those who sleep will see the judgment. And that's why I speak up, because I'd rather be ridiculed now than remain silent and watch innocent lives perish later. May these words find refuge in sincere hearts. May they awaken love where there is indifference. May they generate faith where there is fear. And when the light finally crosses the mountain peak, may you stand there with a clean heart, ready for the new dawn. If you felt something while reading these words, don't ignore it. That it's not just a story, it's a warning. The time that remains is not for fear, it is for act. Share this message right now with as many people as possible: friends, family, groups, churches. God is calling hearts. And perhaps may your gesture be what saves someone. Bend your knees today, not tomorrow. Ask for forgiveness, reconcile, and make peace with God while there is still time, because when the hourglass empties, there will be no going back. Write in the comments, I wake up today. This simple phrase is an act of faith, a sign that you have heard the call. And if this message reached you, it wasn't by chance. It was because heaven still believes you can rise again. Wake up now. Choose the light. Choose the truth. Choose to live what comes next. Before the sun crosses the mountain, be ready.